What's going on, internet people? This is your boy Big Skid, and I'm back at it again. After a very long hiatus, that wasn't necessarily my fault. You know, maybe I decided to take a career path that didn't necessarily work out. But that doesn't matter, because I am here and I am back to tell you about a little man that you all know as Batman. Let me start off by saying how much I love Batman as a character in general. I mean, he's been my longtime favorite hero, vigilante, whatever you want to call him. Batman has evolved over the years from a simple man who witnessed the brutal murdering of his parents as a child and decided to run around in spandex with a gun giving the bad guys what for, to a man tormented from a crippling form of PTSD that drives him and his every action. It's the core reason for his inability to grow close to anyone. We've seen him push every member of the Bat family away in one form or another. But we have also seen him fight more fiercely when you dare to put in danger any of the orphan or wayward children that he's decided to include in this weird little entangled family of his. But it's his unwavering devotion and his true inability to operate in the gray area of what is right and wrong that makes him fall short of any real meaningful relationship.
The source.
I know you loved her, but I cannot believe you did not save a picture of me as well.
It's been years, Talia. It seems
And
the Lazarus Pit agrees with
be real about that right and wrong. Understand that Batman does operate in the gray area, but this is his gray area. So if you don't fit into that little box that he considers to be right or wrong, well, then you'll be dealt with.
I'm a woman.
I'm sorry,
We've seen him and Catwoman on the brink of marriage, and it all fall apart because of his unwillingness to take a life. Selina didn't want to exist in a black and white world where it was Batman's way or no way at all, and I assure you it will be no way at all. However, the man did stare Darkseid himself in the eye and was willing to destroy an entire planet full of life and possibly innocent. Well, it is Darkseid after all, but was willing to allow such death and destruction to occur should Darkseid not agree to his terms. And honestly, with the Zack Snyder reboot, where Darkseid himself is the cameo, who wouldn't love to see our titular BatFleck telling Darkseid, get off his planet or he'll blow it to shit?
Language!
Sorry about that, Cap. On to my next point. We've also seen him do what was absolutely necessary to ensure the survival of his existence in the Batman Metal arc in the comics. I mean, he basically downloaded his entire cerebral cortex into a computer.
Sucking up your IQ, vacuuming the cortex, feeding off your brain.
Well, not his, but Alfred's. And then Alfred's took over him. So, is that really Bruce still? Or is that technically Alfred? But it's Batman's inability to be not what we want him to be, but what he needs to be for us. And it is that aspect why Batman will always be greater than Superman, Captain America, Goku, Cyclops,
Mike Lowry, Santa Claus, Effie Hut, and I don't give a shit.
Language!
or any front-running hero except the one and only Howard the Duck.
7, 6, 5.
But again,
4,
that's a video for another time.
2, 1.
Now, if we look at Batman from a psychological aspect, you must consider just how many different sides we've seen of Batman over the years. Now, in order for me to bridge the gap here and determine just how all three of these universes that I'm going to talk about fit together, you have to be willing to judge Batman from a psychological aspect. You must consider just how many different sides we've seen of Batman over the years. The lone brooding hero to the titular father figure who takes in orphans and raises them to care for themselves in the harshest of environments. To the angry and hostile vigilante who sees his failures and still refuses to stop the mission to save Gotham City from the villainous scum of the earth. In the comics, these versions of Batman are ever-changing based on how we, the audience, view the artist's rendering of Batman at that time. It's even known that an artist can draw things out of context because there may be a misunderstanding with the writers. But as Manhattan said,
a live human body and a deceased human body have the same number of particles. Structurally, there's no difference.
And with this in mind, I'll take you through my theory on how our most recent iteration and returning version of Batman can link directly to that of the original on-screen trilogy. I say trilogy because even though I could shoehorn in the titular Batman and Robin movie with all its head nodding, butt shots, and Batnip's glory, however, with the humorous line of,
"This is why Superman works alone."
This movie has eliminated itself from our connection because we already know.
20 years in Gotham, Alfred. We've seen what promises are worth.
Superman doesn't show up until 20 years after Batman's activities. I figured the best way to start is to work backwards and explain how Michael Keaton's Batman could have possibly become our BatFleck of today, and how the possibility of Flashpoint removing BatFleck and Keaton altogether in favor of everyone's new hot topic, Sparkle Man. Bat Diamonds? Batwork Cullen? Battinson. I'll go with Battinson. I guess Battinson could be the new 52 version of Batman. And we all know how that turned out. In this movie, we open to see Bruce getting off of his helicopter and rushing over to his Metropolis office, hopefully to help evacuate the building. It is at this time we see that this particular building that Jack happens to be in is the very same building Zod obtained his laser eyes. And at the very time Bruce arrives to watch his friend and colleague become just another casualty in a long line of already existing heavy losses. In the director's cut, which shows plenty of context and why Dawn of Justice unfolded the way it did, they show us Bruce guiding children, helping others out of fallen debris and rubble. We get to see this scene linger a bit longer, giving real gravitas to a very real situation that has never been seen before on screen. Bruce is fuming with anger as he can only watch helplessly on the ground as the aliens destroy his planet from above. 18 months later, we then see how these events of that day has now changed how Batman handles criminals.
Jesus Christ.
He now marks them for death to be dealt with in prison. He has no problem dispatching bad guys with their own tools. I mean, heck, even the citizens of Gotham even see that he's different.
Don't listen to that nonsense. Only people scared of him, people who got reason to be.
Scared of who?
Well, there's a new kind of mean in him. He is angry, and he's hunting.
Alfred has to comment on his recent treatment of criminals.
New rules.
Which Batman has now decided this is what both he and Alfred are, which
We've
are
always
criminals.
been criminals. Nothing's changed.
But what we see during the worst times, the city's government, as well as PD, will allow him to operate with impunity.
Operate with impunity for over 10 years, and now I got it.
He gave us a signal.
Makes me think, why didn't he just take the ceiling exit before the cop got up there? And then that way he wouldn't have to write an entire report about why he expelled 5 gunshots into the ceiling at Batman as he skulked out of it. However, unlike Keaton, this version isn't focused on his parents' death anymore. Because as we saw in Batman Forever, foreshadowing much, we see him tell the Riddler,
"You see, I'm both Bruce Wayne and Batman. Not because I have to be. Now, because I choose to be."
So we know he's come to terms with his parents' death, that he can now be Batman without fighting his parents' killer every single time. No, he now has to deal with a new and more present disease that we see growing in our own population this day. A crisis of identity. You have to think about it. With Robin dead, Catwoman missing, and a whole slew of other heroes in crime that have obviously turned bad.
20 years in Gotham, Alfred. We've seen what promises are worth. How many good guys are left?
As well as leading over to Gordon telling him in Justice League,
"It's good to see you playing well with others again."
You can see the torment and anxiety and separation that he has when he's not wearing the suit. He uses any excuse he can to get his hands on the suit. So much so that Alfred has taken to only allowing him to wear the suit when necessary. Kind of like a child who actually likes the taste of their medicine and wants more of it even when they're not sick.
I'm disappointed in you, Jason. You disobeyed me. You were supposed to come back home. Just kill a few of them. But I blame myself. I should have known you wouldn't be able to stop killing. You are like a big stupid dog who can't stop eating.
This is shown by him spending his time staring at the bat suit before he goes to Lex's party. Ben Affleck does an outstanding job here as he stares intently at the suit as if he were longing for it, needing it, wanting it like it was a part of him. Take this scene, and it's kind of similar to the way in which we see Keaton spending all of his free time alone in seclusion, replaying the events of his parents' death over and over. We see him stare at the Batsuit, but nowhere near as intently as Bruce of 20 years later. He stares at it more as it's an escape from what he's truly feeling. He knows when he puts that mask on, he becomes something different, something more.
Symbol, something good, something decent,
something pure.
He's basically traded one obsession for another by the time Dawn of Justice comes around. Now in Batman Return, at a speech, we see the mayor is informing on how bad the city has gotten and trying to gain back the citizens' trust.
Denounce the urban chaos.
This is, of course, before his child is suddenly kidnapped in front of everyone, and no one does a thing. This is an attempt to frame Oswald as some kind of good hero of the city. Now, of course, after Batman shows up, we see him speaking to Commissioner Gordon and the mayor. At this point, we hear Gordon say,
"The day, Batman. I'm afraid the circus gang is back."
Now, the circus gang is obviously an ongoing criminal problem that comes and goes at this point. I mean, the Graysons didn't come from the best of circumstances when it came to the circuses that they were performing in. But what this does is establish Batman as working with the city's government to clean up a dying Gotham, something we can easily see has failed in the director's cut of Dawn of Justice. In the same movie, we also see Batman genuinely fall in love for the first time since his tragedy. While he was still caught up on his short romance with Vicky Vale, he was still focused on brooding over his parents' death and using the suit as his outlet for that anger. We see Bruce in the end willing to reveal his identity to Selina in an effort to get her to change her wicked, wayward ways. It's at this point Batman tries his hand at leading someone down the right path for the first time. Now this time it fails, but it won't be his final attempt at changing the heart of a victim. Well, internet people, that's all I have time for today. This part 1 is considered to be coming to a close. But I want you to do me a favor, and I want you to hit that like button and let me know in the comments if you appreciated where this video was going, because I do have a part 2 mapped out, which will finish out and wrap up this entire world that I believe has been created not by accident, but actually on purpose by Zack Snyder. In the meantime, this is your boy, Big Skit, BYGSKI, 2 T's, not 1, signing out, and I will see you guys in the next video. For now, hey, I'll leave it to you.
The people. None shall interfere. Do as you please.